Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A piece of cloth that is left over after the rest has been used or sold. Bring to an end or halt. She ended their friendship when she found out that he had once been convicted of a crime. Be the end of. Be the last or concluding part of. This sad scene ended the movie. The state of affairs that a plan is intended to achieve and that, when achieved, terminates behavior intended to achieve it. The ends justify the means. The last section of a communication. The point in time at which something ends. The end of the year. Have an end, in a temporal, spatial, or quantitative sense, either spatial or metaphorical. My property ends by the bushes. The final stage or concluding parts of an event or occurrence. The end was exciting. A final state. He came to a bad end. Either extremity of something that has length. The end of the pier. A boundary marking the extremities of something. The end of town. A final part or section. We have given it at the end of the section since it involves the calculus. American football. A position on the line of scrimmage. No one wanted to play end. Football. The person who plays at one end of the line of scrimmage. The end managed to hold onto the pass. One of two places from which people are communicating to each other. The phone rang at the other end. Put an end to. The terrible news ended our hopes that he had survived. The part you were expected to play. He held up his end. The surface at either extremity of a three-dimensional object. One end of the box was marked, this side up. A piece of cloth that is left over after the rest has been used or sold. Something unusual, perhaps worthy of collecting. A piece of cloth that is left over after the rest has been used or sold. Something left after other parts have been taken away. There was no remainder. The number that remains after subtraction. The number that when added to the subtrahend gives the minuend. Sell cheaply as remainders. The publisher remaindered the books. The part of the dividend that is left over when the dividend is not evenly divisible by the divisor. A piece of cloth that is left over after the rest has been used or sold. A small part or portion that remains after the main part no longer exists. Bring to an end or halt. The attack on Poland terminated the relatively peaceful period after WWI. Be the end of. Be the last or concluding part of. Terminate the employment of. Discharge from an office or position. The company terminated 25% of its workers. Have an end, in a temporal, spatial, or quantitative sense, either spatial or metaphorical. The bronchioles terminate in a capillary bed. The state of affairs that a plan is intended to achieve and that, when achieved, terminates behavior intended to achieve it. The place designated as the end, as of a race or journey. A successful attempt at scoring. The winning goal came with less than a minute left to play. Game equipment consisting of the place toward which players of a game try to advance a ball or puck in order to score points. Cease to operate or cause to cease operating. The owners decided to move and to close the factory. come to a close. The concert closed with a nocturne by Chopin. Not far distant in time or space or degree or circumstances. She was close to tears. Of textiles. A close weave. Marked by fidelity to an original. A close translation. Fill or stop up. Can you close the cracks with caulking? Inclined to secrecy or reticence about divulging information. Although they knew her whereabouts, her friends kept close about it. Near in time or place or relationship. The bullet didn't come close. Move so that an opening or passage is obstructed. Make shut. In an attentive manner. He remained close on his guard. Lacking fresh air. The dreadfully close atmosphere. The last section of a communication. The temporal end. The concluding time. They were playing better at the close of the season. Come together, as if in an embrace. Her arms closed around her long-lost relative. The concluding part of any performance. Become closed. The windows closed with a loud bang. Crowded. Close quarters. Unite or bring into contact or bring together the edges of. Close the circuit. Giving or spending with reluctance. Very close, or near, with his money. Of a contest or contestants, evenly matched. A close contest. Fitting closely but comfortably. A close fit. At or within a short distance in space or time or having elements near each other. Close to noon. Bar access to. Due to the accident, the road had to be closed for several hours. Be priced or listed when trading stops. The stock market closed high this Friday. Bring together all the elements or parts of. Management closed ranks. Cause a window or an application to disappear on a computer desktop. Change one's body stance so that the forward shoulder and foot are closer to the intended point of impact. Close in relevance or relationship. A close family. Complete a business deal, negotiation, or an agreement. We closed on the house on Friday. Confined to specific persons. A close secret. Draw near. The probe closed with the space station. Engage at close quarters. Close with the enemy. Finish a game in baseball by protecting a lead. The relief pitcher closed with 2 runs in the second inning. Finish or terminate, meetings, speeches, etc. The meeting was closed with a charge by the chairman of the board. Rigorously attentive, strict and thorough. Close supervision. Strictly confined or guarded. Kept under close custody. Used of hair or haircuts. A close military haircut. Approaching a particular destination. A coming closer. A narrowing of a gap. The ship's rapid rate of closing gave them little time to avoid a collision. The last section of a communication. Termination of operations. The act of closing something. A concluding action. final or ending. The closing stages of the election. Event whose occurrence ends something. The proposition arrived at by logical reasoning, such as the proposition that must follow from the major and minor premises of a syllogism. The act of making up your mind about something. He drew his conclusions quickly. A position or opinion or judgment reached after consideration. His conclusion took the evidence into account. The act of ending something. The last section of a communication. In conclusion, I want to say. The temporal end, the concluding time. A final settlement. The conclusion of a business deal. An intuitive assumption. Jump to a conclusion. Event whose occurrence ends something. His death marked the ending of an era. The end of a word, a suffix or inflectional ending or final morpheme. I don't like words that have ism as an ending. The act of ending something. The last section of a communication. The point in time at which something ends. The ending of warranty period. Put an end to a state or an activity. Have an end, in a temporal, spatial, or quantitative sense, either spatial or metaphorical. Cease, is a noun only in the phrase, without cease, end. A decorative texture or appearance of a surface, or the substance that gives it that appearance. The boat had a metallic finish. Event whose occurrence ends something. When these final episodes are broadcast, it will be the finish of the show. Finish eating all the food on one's plate or on the table. Finally, be or do something. The temporal end, the concluding time. The market was up at the finish. A highly developed state of perfection, having a flawless or impeccable quality. Almost an inspiration which gives to all work that finish which is almost art. Have an end, in a temporal, spatial, or quantitative sense, either spatial or metaphorical. The act of finishing. His best finish in a major tournament was third. Come or bring to a finish or an end. He finished the dishes. The place designated as the end, as of a race or journey. A crowd assembled at the finish. Cause to finish a relationship with somebody. That finished me with Mary. Designated event that concludes a contest, especially a race. Excitement grew as the finish neared. Provide with a finish. The carpenter finished the table beautifully. The downfall of someone, as of persons on one side of a conflict. Booze will be the finish of him. Wine tasting. The taste of a wine on the back of the tongue, as it is swallowed. The wine has a nutty flavor and a pleasant finish. Put an end to a state or an activity. An obstruction in a pipe or tube. The act of stopping something. The third baseman made some remarkable stops. Prevent completion. Stop the project. The state of inactivity following an interruption. He spent the entire stop in his seat. Stop from happening or developing. Render unsuitable for passage. Stop the busy road. A restraint that checks the motion of something. He used a book as a stop to hold the door open. have an end, in a temporal, spatial, or quantitative sense, either spatial or metaphorical. Your rights stop where you infringe upon the rights of other. Stop and wait, as if awaiting further instructions or developments. Interrupt a trip. We stopped at Aunt Mary's house. Seize on its way. A mechanical device in a camera that controls size of aperture of the lens. A consonant produced by stopping the flow of air at some point and suddenly releasing it. His stop consonants are too aspirated. Come to a halt, stop moving. The car stopped. The event of something ending. It came to a stop at the bottom of the hill. A brief stay in the course of a journey. They made a stopover to visit their friends. A punctuation mark, placed at the end of a declarative sentence to indicate a full stop or after abbreviations. In England they call a period a stop. Hold back, as of a danger or an enemy. Check the expansion or influence of. A spot where something halts or pauses. His next stop is Atlanta. Cause to stop. Stop a car. Music. A knob on an organ that is pulled to change the sound quality from the organ pipes. The organist pulled out all the stops. Persist for a specified period of time. The bad weather lasted for 3 days. The time at which life ends, continuing until dead. A struggle to the last. The item at the end. Last, I'll discuss family values. Not to be altered or undone. The arbiter will have the last say. Holding device shaped like a human foot that is used to fashion or repair shoes. The temporal end, the concluding time. Continue to live and avoid dying. How long can a person last without food and water? Occurring at or forming an end or termination. The last days of the dinosaurs. Conclusive in a process or progression. A last resort. Highest in extent or degree. To the last measure of human endurance. Lowest in rank or importance. Last prize. The final stage or concluding parts of an event or occurrence. I had to miss the last of the movie. A person's dying act, the final thing a person can do. He breathed his last. A unit of capacity for grain equal to 80 bushels. A unit of weight equal to 4,000 pounds. Coming after all others in time or space or degree or being the only one remaining. The last time I saw Paris. Immediately past. Last Thursday. Most unlikely or unsuitable. The last person we would have suspected. Occurring at the time of death. His last words. The last or lowest in an ordering or series. He was the last to leave. The time at which life ends, continuing until dead. She stayed until his death. The time when something ends. It was the death of all his plans. The event of dying or departure from life. Her death came as a terrible shock. A final state. The absence of life or state of being dead. He seemed more content in death than he had ever been in life. The act of killing. He had 2 deaths on his conscience. The permanent end of all life functions in an organism or part of an organism. The animal died a painful death. The personification of death. An event, or the result of an event, that completely destroys something. The termination of something by causing so much damage to it that it cannot be repaired or no longer exists. A final state. A contact on an electrical device, such as a battery, at which electric current enters or leaves. Occurring at or forming an end or termination. Terminal leave. Station where transport vehicles load or unload passengers or goods. Either extremity of something that has length. The terminals of the anterior arches of the fornix. Causing or ending in or approaching death. A terminal patient. Electronic equipment consisting of a device providing access to a computer. Has a keyboard and display. Being or situated at an end. Terminal buds on a branch. Of or relating to or situated at the ends of a delivery route. Freight pickup as a terminal service. Relating to or occurring in a term or fixed period of time. Terminal examinations. A separate part consisting of fabric. A separate part consisting of fabric. Cause to change. Make different. Cause a transformation. Add a modifier to a constituent. Make less severe or harsh or extreme. Please modify this letter to make it more polite. Lay aside, abandon, or leave for another. The car changed lanes. Cause to change. Make different. Cause a transformation. The discussion has changed my thinking about the issue. Exchange or replace with another, usually of the same kind or category. He changed his name. An event that occurs when something passes from one state or phase to another. The change was intended to increase sales. Become different in some particular way, without permanently losing one's or its former characteristics or essence. Her mood changes in accordance with the weather. Give to, and receive from, one another. Would you change places with me? Become deeper in tone. His voice began to change when he was 12 years old. Change from one vehicle or transportation line to another. She changed in Chicago on her way to the East Coast. A difference that is usually pleasant. It is a refreshing change to meet a woman mechanic. A different or fresh set of clothes. She brought a change in her overnight bag. A relational difference between states, especially between states before and after some event. He attributed the change to their marriage. A thing that is different. He inspected several changes before selecting one. Change clothes. Put on different clothes. Coins of small denomination regarded collectively. He had a pocketful of change. Money received in return for its equivalent in a larger denomination or a different currency. He got change for a 20 and used it to pay the taxi driver. Remove or replace the coverings of. Father had to learn how to change the baby. The action of changing something. The change of government had no impact on the economy. The balance of money received when the amount you tender is greater than the amount due. I paid with a 20 and pocketed the change. The result of alteration or modification. There were marked changes in the lining of the lungs. Undergo a change. Become different in essence, losing one's or its original nature. She changed completely as she grew older. Insert words into texts, often falsifying it thereby. Cause to change. Make different, cause a transformation. The advent of the automobile may have altered the growth pattern of the city. Become different in some particular way, without permanently losing one's or its former characteristics or essence. Remove the ovaries of. Make an alteration to. This dress needs to be altered. Be priced at. Represent, as of a character on stage. Form or compose. These constitute my entire belonging. Be identical or equivalent to. Have life, be alive. A light, strong, brittle gray toxic bivalent metallic element. Have an existence, be extant. Work in a specific place, with a specific subject, or in a specific function. Have the quality of being, copula, used with an adjective or a predicate noun. Occupy a certain position or area, be somewhere. What is behind this behavior? Spend or use time. I may be an hour. To remain unmolested, undisturbed, or uninterrupted, used only in infinitive form. Let her be. The sum or range of what has been perceived, discovered, or learned. The state of being contented with your situation in life. He relaxed in sleepy contentedness. The amount that can be contained. What a communication that is about something is about. Satisfied or showing satisfaction with things as they are. A contented smile. The sum or range of what has been perceived, discovered, or learned. Something, a person or object or scene, selected by an artist or photographer for graphic representation. Usually plural. Everything that is included in a collection and that is held or included in something. He emptied the contents of his pockets. Make content. I am contented. Satisfy in a limited way. He contented himself with 1 glass of beer per day. The proportion of a substance that is contained in a mixture or alloy, etc. The sum or range of what has been perceived, discovered, or learned. A self-contained part of a larger composition, written or musical. A section of a section. A part of a part, i.e., a part of something already divided. A division of some larger or more complex organization. An area composed of subdivided lots. The act of subdividing. Division of something previously divided. A self-contained part of a larger composition, written or musical. He always turns first to the business section. A specialized division of a large organization. She got a job in the historical section of the Treasury. The cutting of or into body tissues or organs, especially by a surgeon as part of an operation. Geometry, the area created by a plane cutting through a solid. One of the portions into which something is regarded as divided and which together constitute a whole. The finance section of the company. A small class of students who are part of a larger course but are taught separately. A graduate student taught sections for the professor's lecture course. Divide into segments. One of several parts or pieces that fit with others to constitute a whole object. A section of a fishing rod. A distinct region or subdivision of a territorial or political area or community or group of people. No section of the nation is more ardent than the South. A division of an orchestra containing all instruments of the same class. A land unit equal to 1 square mile. A segment of a citrus fruit. He ate a section of the orange. A small army unit usually having a special function. A small team of policemen working as part of a police platoon. A very thin slice, of tissue or mineral or other substance, for examination under a microscope. Sections from the left ventricle showed diseased tissue. Be oriented. The weather vane points north. Sail close to the wind. Repair the joints of bricks. Point a chimney. Any of 32 horizontal directions indicated on the card of a compass. He checked the point on his compass. Be a signal for or a symptom of. Her behavior points to a severe neurosis. A specific identifiable position in a continuum or series or especially in a process. A distinct part that can be specified separately in a group of things that could be enumerated on a list. The main point on the agenda was taken up first. An outstanding characteristic. His acting was one of the high points of the movie. A V shape. The cannibal's teeth were filed to sharp points. A contact in the distributor. As the rotor turns, its projecting arm contacts them and current flows to the spark plugs. The dot at the left of a decimal fraction. Direct into a position for use. Point a gun. Indicate a place, direction, person, or thing, either spatially or figuratively. He pointed to the empty parking space. The property of a shape that tapers to a sharp tip. The gun muzzle's direction. He held me up at the point of a gun. A V-shaped mark at one end of an arrow pointer. The point of the arrow was due north. An isolated fact that is considered separately from the whole. A point of information. A wall socket. An instant of time. At that point I had to leave. A very small circular shape. A row of points. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. Give a point to. Intend something, to move towards a certain goal. A punctuation mark, placed at the end of a declarative sentence to indicate a full stop or after abbreviations. A brief version of the essential meaning of something. Get to the point. A distinguishing or individuating characteristic. He knows my bad points as well as my good points. A geometric element that has position but no extension. A point is defined by its coordinates. A linear unit used to measure the size of type, approximately 1/72 inch. A promontory extending out into a large body of water. They sailed south around the point. A style in speech or writing that arrests attention and has a penetrating or convincing quality or effect. Be positionable in a specified manner. The gun points with ease. Indicate the presence of game by standing and pointing with the muzzle. The dog pointed the dead duck. Mark, a psalm text, to indicate the points at which the music changes. Mark, Hebrew words, with diacritics. Mark with diacritics. Point the letter. 1% of the total principal of a loan. It is paid at the time the loan is made and is independent of the interest on the loan. Sharp end. He stuck the point of the knife into a tree. The object of an activity. What is the point of discussing it? The precise location of something, a spatially limited location. She walked to a point where she could survey the whole street. The unit of counting in scoring a game or contest. He scored 20 points in the first half. An instant of time. Indicate through a symbol, formula, etc. The territory occupied by a nation. A politically organized body of people under a single government. The state has elected a new president. Chemistry. The three traditional states of matter are solids, fixed shape and volume, and liquids, fixed volume and shaped by the container, and gases, filling the container. The solid state of water is called ice. The territory occupied by one of the constituent administrative districts of a nation. His state is in the deep south. Put before. The federal department in the United States that sets and maintains foreign policies. Express in words. State your opinion. A state of depression or agitation. He was in such a state you just couldn't reason with him. The group of people comprising the government of a sovereign state. The state has lowered its income tax. The way something is with respect to its main attributes. The current state of knowledge.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.